Oh yeah.
Boss, thank you so much. A legend in the sport
Mhm.
and out of the sport, teaching. That's a hard graft. Why teach? Why compete?
Ah,
And then why both?
that's wow. We're really just going right in there, huh?
Of course.
Why teaching? I went into teaching first before I found powerlifting. But I've just always loved kids and I've loved being a positive influence in kids' lives. And honestly, I really disliked school growing up.
Hmm.
So I sort of felt like it was my duty to get in there and try to make it fun and a place where kids felt safe and where they wanted to be. So that was my initial reasoning for getting into teaching. And then why powerlifting? I just fell into it. I started working out with some guys. I got really strong. I literally just fell upon a competition that was outside on a beach one day, and I was like, I can do that. And apparently, I'm fairly good at it. So that was how I got into that. And then I don't remember the last. What was the third part?
Why juggle them too?
Why both? Oh,
Yeah.
well, I kind of intermix them. I have a powerlifting club at school, and so I enjoy coaching the kids, and they turn around and lift and help in the competitions. I'm the North Carolina state chair here, so I oversee all the powerlifting competitions that go on in North Carolina. So it's kind of fun to see them volunteer into me and then lift into me and grow to love the sport as much as I do. So they can go hand in hand if you make it.
I love that, mate. Like a lot of people, especially when they start competing in sport in general, right? They drop everything to the wayside and be like, right, I'm all in. I am a pro athlete now.
Oh,
It's like, oh, okay. Like
well,
we don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can juggle
yeah,
some things. You can continue with your career.
yeah. I don't know like what it's like in Australia, but over in the US, it's not really something that you can live off of
Mm,
unless you're like maybe doing online coaching and things like that.
mm,
So it's not to the level of where you could not have a real job.
mm.
Unless you own a gym or you're somehow pulling in different ways, but it's getting better for sure.
Yeah, owning a gym's another route, right? Which then
Yeah,
usually you work all day,
correct.
6, 7 days, and then competing is very difficult. I take my hats off to those individuals that own gyms and like to
For
compete in pro
sure.
sport. Like, good luck, guys. That's savage.
Yeah, yeah.
At what
Not
age
something I want to do.
you you do or don't?
No, I don't.
Wow. Yeah,
I think
it's
that would turn my love for the sport into a job, and I would like to keep it where it's something I enjoy, look
enjoy
forward to doing
doing.
every day. But when I'm done, and then I do
Mm,
other things.
mm, mm. I like that. At what age do you bring the kids in the powerlifting club?
Um, it's what we call freshmen in high school, so about 14.
Mm. Have you had any pushback, like from school or parents or the whole stunt the
Well,
growth, that whole
yeah, not
that whole
really.
nonsense?
It's been voluntary, and I think because of my level of accomplishments, they kind of look at me as more like I know what I'm doing, so they feel more comfortable with the kids learning from me because they know that I will teach them how to do it correctly, and we won't be just maxing out crazy weight and hurting them. It's all about for me. The first couple years are all about perfecting your form. So we're I'm very aware of no matter what age, you can get very hurt doing this. And it's
Yeah.
super important to really put down a foundation and some strict principles as to how you approach the sport. So that's really kind of the main focus. And really, a big part of it is building a community.
Mm.
A lot of the kids that end up going into powerlifting are the ones that just don't fit into particular sports. So they're not necessarily going to play basketball or football or, they're good at baseball or softball or whatever. So I find it's mostly kids that want to be athletic, but they're not necessarily skilled in one thing or another. So I feel like they sort of find a commonality in that. And so when we get in there and I start kind of laying down the groundwork and laying down a lot of teamwork, they end up building like this amazing community in powerlifting that sort of transfers out of powerlifting as well. So it ends up just being a whole lot of fun.
Mm. Oh man, that's beautiful to hear, like it's usually the introverted kids, they're a little bit
Yeah.
quirky, a little bit funky,
Yeah,
and
and then
it's
they kind of just blossom. Like it's just
yeah.
there's something about, and I'm sure there's some sort of professional term to this, but there's something about how when your body gets stronger, so does your mind.
Hmm.
I think some of it has to do with, being able to. Most kids are just so surprised at what they're capable of doing. They had no idea they were capable of doing this level or this amount of weight, and I think that does things, especially to your confidence. But then you think, if I can, pull 135 pounds off the floor, I can go step in front of my classmates and give this speech for, whatever it is. It builds them up in big ways that supersede powerlifting for sure.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like we develop their physical competency to be able to reveal to themselves their mental capacity and the resilience that they hold up there, right? Like you can end up
Uh-huh.
doing this. You are strong enough upstairs,
Yeah.
whether it's a child, whether we're in the 70s or whether we're anywhere in between. Like we do that for everybody. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And we just do it through this thing called a barbell, right? Which is kind of a bit
Yeah.
of a left
It
field
seems like a
implement.
Yeah, it seems like a silly, easy thing, but the effects it has is profound. And I don't
Mm.
necessarily understand the whole reasoning why. I understand some of it, but like it is like it just always surprises me that it's just something so simple. And sometimes it's just giving your time to somebody and sharing a love and passion of something, I think.
Yeah. And struggling, right? And working hard towards something and coming in and be
Yeah.
like, why does this feel heavier today than it should do, or did yesterday,
Mhm.
or the week before, or the week before that? It's like, what's going on? It's like sometimes you just got to get in the mud and start digging.
Yep.
Sometimes it's just gonna feel like that, guys, and it's beautiful. It's always gonna weigh the same. That 20
Mhm.
kilo barbell, it's 45 pounds for you guys, right? The barbell.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
45 pounds. It's always going to weigh the same, like, but how it feels is going to be completely different day to day,
Right. Yeah.
and sometimes
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, let's just scratch that plan off. That ain't going to happen.
Yeah, we're going to need a different approach today, and that happens.
Yeah.
And life just gets in the way. Life is messy. It's got some ups and it's got some downs, and sometimes whatever you did before your workout's going to have effect on it. That's okay.
Mm. You get lads and ladies come to the club.
It's pretty much almost half and half.
Wow.
Yeah, we're seeing a huge surge in female powerlifting over here in the States. I think our membership now is 60-40 men to women, but we're getting pretty close to a 50-50, feel like. And it's growing so fast that our total membership last year, we just hit that number just now, and we're halfway through the year. So it's pretty exciting to see the monstrous growth that we have.
That's amazing, man. It's
Yeah.
definitely something that would benefit back home. Like thinking back home in the UK, like around 13, 14, young
Mhm.
ladies usually drop out of PE and they don't do anything.
Yeah.
And then around
Yeah.
about 16, 17, lads follow. So it's a couple of years later, it's still cool,
Mhm.
right? So they're still in
Yeah.
sport, they're still kind of moving around, but they end up dropping out before the university age or the college age, right?
Right.
As you
Yeah.
guys call it.
Yeah. And we're starting to see that change. I mean, that was definitely for sure what happened when I got into the sport in the early 2000s. You would see, they'd be in it through college. And then once you kind of got married and have kids, that was it. But I think there's enough of us showing the example of that you can keep doing it
Yeah,
through
you
all
can.
that,
Yeah.
and you don't have to
Yeah.
give up on it. USA Powerlifting starting a branch over in England this year. I think their first meet's going to be November.
Is that Sheffield?
Nope, it's going to be a USA powerlifting event. can't remember the name of the city. I'll have to look it up.
Oh, wow.
But the Sheffield is IPF
Mhm.
run event, and we are no longer associated with them with USA Powerlifting. So we're starting our own international circuit.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so we'll be
incredible.
starting over in Britain. We've got, I think, almost 50 countries signed up. So
Wow.
we'll see a international competitor here pretty soon.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
it, man. It's just getting people acquainted with that thing. Let it
right.
teach you lessons that you need. I joke
Mhm.
about it all the time when people come in, and I had the privilege of coaching some youth athletes at home, quite a few actually. I coached more youth than I did adults, and now it's kind of flipped on its head. But I was like, we coach or we teach life through the medium of fitness, and that's basically it. Like it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
what implement it is. Okay, we're doing bench press today. We're doing an overhead press today. We're on a rower today. We're doing whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all those little life lessons you're trying to make somebody a little bit better human,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah.
Let's go develop and be a part of this thing called society rather than like
Yeah.
cast out on it and kick the can
Mhm.
down the road and do nothing with it.
Right. Well, what I've loved just about being part of our organization, USA Powerlifting, is our focus has always been what we call here grassroots lifters,
Grassroots, yeah.
which are basically your local lifters that probably never go to a nationals or elite event, but they are like the heart and soul of your foundation, right? It's the everyday guys that like to go to local meets and lift, and it's just sort of part of their life. And so we really focused on growing that aspect of our sport and putting on amazing events that are affordable for them.
Mm.
So that really is their focus, is the everyday lifter, which I think is pretty wonderful.
They set the precedent. They build the
Mhm.
community. They
Yeah.
build
And
that
then you'll have a
connection.
few that want to, go into that elite level. But I mean, if you really look at any organization, your top lifters make up 10% of your entire membership, right? So where should all your focus be? The 10% or the 90%?
Precisely.
90.
Exactly. I'm in that field. I will play the drum for the foundation of any sport rather than the top. Like they're already there. They've got the sponsorship deal. They're wearing Nike. They're making
Mhm.
millions of dollars. Okay, fantastic. But without the bottom, nobody's going through
Yeah,
that system.
right.
It's a ground up
Exactly.
approach rather than the top down, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So where do you want to see powerlifting go?
Well, I would love for it to be so great that you could make a living out of it. That would be great. I'd like it just to be more mainstream. I'd love to see us, with all other sports being broadcast on TV or the, YouTube or wherever, So I just like it to be something more like part of one of my missions right now is to make it bigger in high schools, to make it an official sport in high school instead of like a club sport. We're already starting to see some stuff happen at the collegiate level or our university level, as you guys like to say. We have
Yeah.
our collegiate nationals every year, and I think we had 1,500 athletes at it last year. We have 100 colleges that have it as a club sport, and then we're starting to see them make it a actual sport, and they're offering scholarships and
Wow.
things like that for powerlifting, where that's your main sport. So I think it's starting to get there, but you need to start at the high school, collegiate levels to where you can make it where it's like a main sport that everyone's used to seeing and knows about.
Mm. And not to mention like injury prevention, right?
Oh yeah, that's super important. We have my son plays like a high level baseball here, and two of his baseball teammates have seriously terrible muscle injuries they got from lifting, where the individual that was, showing them how to lift didn't show them how to do properly and allowed them to, really max out before they were ready. And
Mm.
these are, 17-year-old kids with serious lifelong injuries to where, they can't play baseball and they're having trouble walking. And so, like, that's a problem. Like, you need good qualified people in these teaching positions. And I don't know how it is for you guys, but here you can take a little online course and you're certified and you can go coach whoever you want. And that's, rather scary.
Yeah, it's similar back home, man. Fortunately and unfortunately, like the whole momentum of high school sport in terms of S&C training for it hasn't picked up. It's like, oh, if you go to the gym, you've got a parent that's shown you, or you've got a gym membership and you've just walked on in and figured it out yourself. But most of the times, kids don't train in the gym. Kids don't pick up a weight and they
Yeah.
just play contact sport. Like rugby's a big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like whether it's rugby league or rugby union, like it's similar to
Yeah.
American football. You're slamming into folk every
Yeah.
day, right? And you're like, yeah, but
Yeah.
you've not, you've not developed the bone density, the body awareness, the
Sure.
proprioception. Like,
Yeah.
what's been going on here, guys? Like, we can
Yeah.
get concussions from headbutting each other, but we're
Oh,
not
yeah.
allowed to
That's
pick
big
up a
over
weight
here.
safely. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And the thing is too, like, even if you're not into powerlifting, like just the weight training itself makes you better at any sport that you do.
Mhm.
It should be part of anybody's program, really.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful foundation for people, GPP, right? Or even just to get into fitness, into the gym for their specific sport. Like everybody needs to
Hmm.
be able to learn how to SBD.
Right.
You should be able to get
Properly.
underneath a barbell and SBD,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And not
For
hurt
sure.
yourself.
And not hurt yourself. A little, I mean, I feel like a lot of times it's the ego that gets in the way. You
Yeah.
get kind of pumped up and want to show that you're the strong. It's usually one of the men, to be honest with you.
It always is.
That's why I really enjoy training women, because I feel like as a whole, they're just really interested in how to do it right, how to do it
Yeah, yeah.
properly, how to do it safely. They want to listen and do it where a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times with the men, it's all about lifting as much weight as they can in whatever fashion it needs to be done. So there's a little bit of a diversity there.
I completely agree. I usually say with ladies, like most of the time, you need to big up their confidence a little bit, allow them
Yeah.
to develop that. And you're like, yeah, you can do this. Like you do belong in this environment. Like this is fantastic. And the dudes, it's the other way around. You need to give them a little
Yeah.
bit
Oh
of
yeah.
humble pie, right?
Yeah. Or like, you need to drop down the weight and do this
Yeah.
correctly. And they do not want to do that.
They look at you like an alien. Get out of here,
They're like,
coach. I'm not
huh?
doing that. Yeah.
But honestly, like if they think about it, like, usually people that have bad form, they hit sort of this plateau and they really can't go much beyond it because they're not just doing it properly. They're not using the muscle groups they should be using. So it's almost like banging your head against the wall with bad form. Like you really just kind of get stuck, and it's really hard to go beyond that threshold of what that form's allowing you to do. So a lot of times, if you put it right, you can get people to kind of buy into this, but not always.
Hmm. That's it. Like long-term athletic development rather than let's just spin
Yeah,
plates and do a really, really good session. I was like, what are you going to do in a year?
right. Yes,
Like, what are you going to do
that's
next week? If you're all
maybe
banged
forward
up.
thinking.
Yeah, but dudes don't think like that. Come on. You
I
know what we're
know, but
like.
some are reasonable.
So I think that's the key word there.
Yeah, reasonable.
Yeah. But purpose. It's a word that's thrown around a lot.
Mhm.
What's yours?
My purpose in life?
Yeah.
That's a pretty deep question. I was actually just filling out this questionnaire for our Raw Nationals is coming up in about 6 weeks. And we have like a prime time session with the top athletes. It's at nighttime and it's dark and the music's going crazy and the drinks are flowing and it's just a great big party. And they
Nice.
were asking us all these detailed questions so they could talk about on the live stream and on the announcing and stuff. And one of them was, what was your purpose in powerlifting and what is your purpose in life?
Hmm.
And so I think they're kind of somewhat separate. My purpose in powerlifting is to grow our sport in the high school level and be a good mentor and just leave my mark on the sport. I want my name to always be mentioned. When we talk about powerlifting, I want my legacy to be great. Like I did something so wonderful that My name's always going to be in the mentions. Not necessarily that I lifted the most, but I just had that impact on my sport, with the kind of person I was or am. In life, my sport is really, I mean, my purpose in life is really to try to make sure I leave this earth a way better place than when I came to it. Very much into the environment, and I do a lot with trying to be more of a self-sufficient society. I'm starting an aquaponics program at our school, which is where you basically are farming in water instead of land. We have a composting system, and I think as humans we can just do better. And so my purpose in life is to basically do better by our earth, and always try to be a positive to people that are around me.
What made you want to go down that route?
I just got into it and I love it. Like it inspires me. I find it interesting. I feel like it's challenging. Um, I guess it gets me going. It motivates me. I enjoy it. I enjoy um, learning new things. I teach science and math, so science is a big part of life. Broad subject, but it makes me feel good, honestly.
Yeah. I think people trying to impact the wider community, but keeping it in their community is the way to go about things. If we're trying to go from the top down, like we usually do, cast our vote, right? I'm not saying don't vote. I'm just saying if that is the only thing that we do is put a little X on a piece of paper and stick it in a little hole and be like, yeah, everything's going to be great. I think we've missed the point. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, have your say that way, but then also impact
Yeah.
your next door neighbor and your street and then the community that you live within. And it's that smaller grassroots approach. I think we got a lot of scope to do a lot of good. People innately are good. People want to help
I think so
people.
too.
Like
Yeah.
there is a lot of good people out there, and if we just stepped out the front door and did the good. There's a crisp packet on the floor. Just
Yeah.
pick it up, mate. Put it in the bin.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got a little bit piece of land. All right, cool. Let me plant some tomatoes or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like just
I
something
feel like
simple.
I think there's so much we get lost in. I think the volume of what needs to be changed or done. When, like what you said, if you can just break it down into small pieces
Yeah.
of what you can do just every day, something little, that adds up to something big if you can get enough people to do it with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like, like you were talking about just the voting and the checking the box. I think you get there and you're like, well, this isn't going to have a profound impact on things. So you feel like what you do doesn't matter so much, but it it really does. You just don't have to think, you have to think like, does it matter to my entire country? Probably not. But am
Yeah.
I improving my community? Absolutely. And that's just as important. And I think that expands over time.
Yeah. I got a saying of how many raindrops does it make to make a ripple?
Oh,
It's one, right? But
one, yeah.
but how many raindrops takes a tsunami? Like a hell of a lot. That's
Right,
not your
right,
job.
right. Hmm.
Your job is to make a ripple.
Yeah. I think too, like with the social media stuff, there's so many pluses and minuses with it. And I think a lot of the minuses are, we assume with what we are seeing on there as being truth
Yeah.
and being
Yeah.
normal and vast. And that's not true. you
Yeah.
know. So when we get upset with, here in the States, politics are terrible, and you get sort of bummed out and with the way people talk and treat each other and their specialized views and things. And um, I think when you see all that broadcast, you think it's the masses, but it's really just a couple of people that are saying terrible
Yeah.
things. It's just, you're here, they've got the platform for it to really get heard a lot. But in reality, it's not the majority, it's a small minority. And so you have to kind of keep which is hard because it's in your face all the time, but you have to keep
Mm.
reminding yourself, what people post on social media. Some of it's not true at all. It's made up. Some of it's just they're posting their best days, not their worst days, so you can't look through that with this, like, look at everyone's doing great and I'm not like this. It's just not the truth.
Mm. It's the same back
I
home,
think,
man. If you
yeah.
look directly at politics or what's written in the laws, and like that's not how the country works, man. Go talk to the
Mhm.
people. Like we're way different than that.
Yeah, I
How
agree.
are you supposed to know if you're not walked a mile in the shoes, right?
Correct.
Judgment. Yeah, I think it ruins a lot of things. But Jen, I got
Yeah.
3 questions.
Okay.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh gosh, this is deep. It was probably from my mother, and I'm really grateful for it. And I'm probably not saying it correctly, but the effect was that we're all people living in this world together, and we should embrace and accept our differences and not be afraid or discriminatory of them.
Wow.
And she gave this to me in a time where it wasn't acceptable to be a homosexual, in a time where there was probably much more racism than there is now, which is argumentative. But
Mm.
I just thought she was so forward thinking, and I'm so grateful that she imparted those words on me to help me become the person I am, today. When I grew up in a family that was really pretty discriminatory, and the area we lived in was pretty discriminatory, but she was a a different kind of thinker, and I'm just so grateful for that.
Wow. A forward thinker, right?
Yeah,
Critical thinking. I think it's a skill set that we should be taught in skills, if I'm honest, taught at a very young age. Think about it,
yeah.
accept your own
Hmm.
bias and then look for a different opinion.
Right.
Mm.
So that was very, very much sticks to the core of me. And I'm just in a time where, it's just easy to go along with what's normal thoughts and what normal, you tend to take on this mass mentality of
Yeah.
what you grow up in and how you're brought up. And so I'm just so thankful that um she wasn't like that. She was probably in the minority, but I'm so glad.
Don't be a bystander, right? That was a big
Yeah.
campaign back home. Don't be a
Yeah.
bystander or that mob mentality. It's like, no, no, no. Don't
Yeah.
be a sheep. Like, think for
Yeah.
yourself. You're an individual.
Yeah.
What's the worst
Yeah.
piece of life advice you've ever received?
uh just go with it. Don't worry about it. Just go with it. Never, that's never a
Yeah,
good piece of advice.
yeah. Oh, you're gonna worry about it. Whether it's now or it's gonna be later, you're gonna worry about
Right. Yeah. That's not
it.
to stick your head in the sand.
Yeah, yeah. They're gonna come back and bite you in the ass. And usually that
Yeah.
problem's gonna be a little bit bigger.
Right. Right.
It's always the case. All right, Chief, last question. What are the 3 words you tell your younger self?
Oh, 3 words. Oh gosh. Don't be afraid.
Wow.
Um, you're more than this. That's more than one word. Am I supposed to be one word, or can I do phrases?
No, you can do phrases.
All right. And the last one would be you be you.
Mm. Why don't be afraid?
Um, well, I was super afraid to do anything. I was afraid I was going to do things wrong. I was afraid people would laugh at me or talk about me, or um, I was, when I was growing up, I was just very insecure. And I was like, I was afraid to just even go to a grocery store and buy groceries, or go to a restaurant by myself, or um, I was constantly afraid that I would be made fun of.
Mm.
So fear, I feel like, kept me back from doing a lot of things that I probably could have done. I grew up in a very rich town as a poor person.
Mm.
So the so we were looked down upon. We weren't treated as equals because of our clothing and things like that. So that had a real negative effect on me, and I allowed it to until I found powerlifting. So
Love
I'm
that.
grateful for that. But I spent a lot of time being just fearful and afraid, worried about what other people think.
Mm. The barbell swooping in and being a savior once again.
That's exactly right.
Hell yeah. I love that, man. I hope more kids come to the powerlifting club. I hope
Yeah.
more kids hear
Yeah.
about it and give it a try. Just give it a try.
Yes.
Even if it's a broomstick. The barbell can
Yep.
be intimidating. Use a training bar, use a
It
broomstick,
can.
use a pipe. That's okay. Just stick on that. Let it develop your competency and physical movement, and then also show yourself you're a lot stronger upstairs.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
We'll keep working on
We'll keep
it.
working. Let me know if I can help in any way. I
Okay.
appreciate it so much, and thank you so much for your
Sure.
time. This has been an honor and a
Absolutely.
privilege, mate.
I enjoyed it. A lot of self-reflection during this podcast.
It's yeah, it's an honor to literally talk to a legend in the sport and someone who likes to give it back to the grassroots rather than just I'm above you guys now. It's the other way around, and
Yeah.
that's really,
We
really
need
cool
more
to
of that.
see. Yeah, it inspires the hell out of me. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Oh, appreciate it.
Mate, we'll speak soon, and hopefully we'll cross paths soon and we'll get a lifting.
Okay, sounds wonderful.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Thanks, Chief. Bye, everybody.